Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mandy, the Handmade Homeschooler, and today I'm going to talk about why I quit teaching. Not exactly a subject that's very fun, but I feel like probably a lot of you can relate to this, and hopefully you're going to take away some valuable information if you're thinking about homeschooling. So before I get into the video, please make sure that you like and hit the subscribe button because it really does help me and my channel and my family out when you do that. So thank you very much to all my subscribers. And down below in the description box, I have a free group for you for all homeschooling parents and parents thinking about homeschooling. There's a ton of us in there, and as I always say, it is my favorite place on the internet. So this is I do not like drama or gossiping, so don't take this as this is going to be one of those videos where I name drop people or talk bad about stuff like that. No, this is not. I'm going to explain why I quit teaching because you guys know that teaching and education is my passion. I love it. My dream has actually always been to be a curriculum developer, and I have recently started creating my own preschool curriculum, and so many of you have been purchasing that, so thank you for everybody who has been doing that. And if you want to take a look at that, that's also in the description box too. But I finally quit teaching because I hit my breaking point, and it was becoming physically dangerous for me to stay. And I hate that I have to say that statement. I feel like it's so controversial, and I know that so many people are going to come in here and probably call me a liar, and I think the ones who have been subscribed to me know that this is not lying, that that's not my thing, that I'm pretty real and straightforward with you guys, and everything that I'm going to tell you is the absolute truth. I would never lie to you guys to try to prove a point. That's very silly, and it doesn't help anybody out. So let's go. So I will get through the first one that's the most difficult as my number one. The number one reason why I quit teaching was because I was physically assaulted on more than one occasion. I don't know, you guys have never seen me in real life, but I'm actually a pretty small girl. I barely hit 5'0" on a chart. I am a tiny little thing. And my first day on the job to one of the schools, and actually this was my most favorite school that I ever worked at. Absolutely, number one. And if my old boss is watching, I love you. I was punched in the face on my first day working at that school. True story. My boss can back me up on that. I was punched in the face the first day by a 5th grader, and it hurt, y'all. It hurt. Like, my lip was kind of busted for a couple weeks over that one. Now granted, the child wasn't aiming to hit me, but there was a fight between 2 5th grade boys in my classroom, and I had to try to break it up while calling for help, and this kid swung and it hit me right there in the mouth. Did not feel good. That was not the first or the last time I was physically assaulted, but the last time I was physically assaulted, I was about 7 months pregnant with my youngest, and I was put on bed rest over it. And I had a miscarriage right before I was pregnant with my child that I was carrying at that time, and I lost it. That was my breaking point. That was my absolute breaking point. Mind you, this child was 6, I believe, at the time. I was teaching the youngins at that school. Loved my job. I loved my students. This child had been very aggressive from the very first day of school, and I kept writing incident reports trying to get this child out of my classroom. And that was my breaking point where I said, obviously his tuition means more than my employment, and I left. It really hurt me to leave. It really hurt me to leave. I did not want to leave, but the safety of the teachers was not a first priority. It wasn't even one of the top priorities. It was the tuition money from the parents. So there you go. There's the number one reason why I quit, was for the safety of my unborn child. And it was very, very hard for me to make that decision, but I had to make that decision. So the second reason is pretty much for that first one. Schools are more about, especially private schools care more about tuition than they do about anything else, pretty much. And that comes with a whole big thing. Like, this is so hard for me to explain, especially to people who have never been in the system, but and I know so many teachers are probably just nodding their head right now like, I totally get it. As much money as schools charge for tuition, I was never given a curriculum. I was on my own at every single school I taught at. Now, again, this is not every single school out there, but every school I have taught at, especially every preschool and even the academy preschools, we were never given curriculum. And it used to drive me crazy because I would have to go and find my own resources and everything else. And trust me, we aren't getting paid that much. We don't get paid for that. Like, we're on our own. So the fact that they do that really drives me crazy. I really dislike that because I feel like the parents have no idea that they're paying so much money. I made a big preschool video about this. I will link it somewhere around here for you to go check out. But yes, like, teachers are kind of on their own when it comes to that type of stuff, especially in the preschool world. Now, there are things that we have to teach, especially, you know, state to state. Like, we have state standards that we have to teach, and you might see those on TPT where you see like the numbers with the decimals on them. Those are either state or US standards that the teachers have to teach, and like different concepts that are required for that grade. But a lot of times in a lot of schools, the teachers are not even given a curriculum, and the teachers, it's like up to them. Like, they get a bullet point of like all the things that they have to teach, but they're not given curriculum to do that. And many places, they're on their own. The school will provide sometimes textbooks, but the teachers have to do all of that. And me being a mom, especially a young mom, and working so many hours at work, and then coming home and then busting my butt for hours upon hours, grading, creating my curriculum, and doing all those things, like, I had no time for my family. It got to a point where I had no time to be a mom. I had no time to be a wife. I don't even want to know how many times I ordered pizza in the years that I was teaching, especially that last year when I was pregnant and teaching. Oh my goodness, you guys. I think I knew the pizza drivers by name that year. It was really sad. So really, the schools care more about tuition money than anything else. And as much money as they're pulling in from tuition, they really need to start supplementing the teachers with curriculum and things like that to teach. I hope that it's different by now, but I honestly think that it's probably not. So here's another one, and I know so many teachers are going to totally agree with me on this one. I was spending more money to teach than I was to stay home. It was actually cheaper for me to stay home with my kids than it was to enroll them in preschool or daycare so I could go in a classroom and teach. My whole paycheck was going to keeping my kids in preschool. And that was when I got a discount too for being a teacher at the school. So like, I would have my child enrolled in the same school I was teaching at. I would be teaching across the hall, and my whole paycheck was going to his tuition. And it's like, why am I here? This is so silly. I could be at home. And when that dawned on me, how much money I was spending, and when we really looked at the bottom line between gas money, how much money I had to pay for lunches to pack for me and him both, and how many hours I spent away from the house, and when it really came down to it, we were spending more than I was even making so I could teach. I will say the last reason is funding. Funding. So many teachers pour so much of their paycheck into buying things for their classroom. And I was no exception. I was a dollar store junkie when I was teaching. I bought so much stuff, everything from you know, art supplies to decorations and treats, party supplies, just things that I needed for the lessons that I was teaching. And at the end of the day, it was very expensive. When you have, you know, 30, 40 kids in a class, yes, that many, which they justify by giving you a teacher's aide. Boy, it gets expensive. Oh, you guys, so expensive. So yeah, my heart and my soul, I felt like I left for a while at that school. I loved my teachers, my teacher friends. I loved my students like they were my own kids. I loved just teaching in general. It was so fulfilling for me. However, my family comes first. My sanity comes first, and I was losing both of those things by trying to juggle that career and be a wife and a mom. And before I was married, you know, it was much easier to do that. But when I became married and I started having kids, it just wasn't gonna work. So I quit. I hated doing it, but I did it. But that did give me the experience that I needed to feel more confident to go into homeschooling and talk to you about education, so it wasn't all a total loss. But yes, that is why I am no longer a teacher, and that is why I quit. So hopefully you guys get a little glimpse of what the school systems are actually like and what some of these preschool academies are like and private schools, so you guys can kind of help make better decisions about your child's education. And that's, you know, my real heart behind doing these very candid, open conversations with you about school. So that is all I got for today's story. So I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy homeschooling. Bye guys.